The grand city of Tvaris gleamed beneath its twin suns, its towers like shards of obsidian thrust into the clouds. To the untrained eye, it was perfection. Crystalline streets, levitating trams, and beings of elegance sweeping through the plazas in flowing silks. But perfection hid cruelties, and Lysara knew that better than most. Lysara was born into the Valari, a species known across the spiral arms for their precision and beauty. Their skin shimmered faintly with bioluminescent hues, their voices harmonized naturally when speaking in groups, and their forms were sculpted to near symmetry. Among them, beauty wasn't just vanity, it was hierarchy, social order, and survival. And Lysara was flawed. Her hair carried no luster, dull in comparison to her peers' shining crests. Her skin glowed too faintly, paling her against her kin. But it was her eyes that damned her the most. Valari eyes were supposed to shine in rare shades of silver, emerald, or violet. Lysara's were a muted gray, colorless, lifeless, as her peers cruelly whispered. For cycles unending, she endured the mockery. Clouded eyes, they called her. The gray void. She buried herself in studies, excelling in diplomacy and linguistics, for intelligence was the only weapon left to her. Yet even in academic halls, the ridicule shadowed her. And then one day everything changed. The Galactic Council hosted its convocation on Tvaris, and with it came emissaries of dozens of worlds. Among them humans. The Valari had always dismissed humanity as crude, stubborn newcomers, whose physical clumsiness and blunt speech marked them as uncultured. But humanity's rapid rise and influence in trade, exploration, and, most controversially, diplomacy had made them impossible to ignore. Lysara, fluent in 17 tongues, was assigned as liaison to a small delegation of humans. It was to be her chance to prove herself, though she expected little. She would be invisible as always. The human envoy's leader was a man named Commander Elias Vey. Broad-shouldered, dark-haired. His presence was quiet but undeniable. Where other species adorned themselves with jewelry or ceremonial fabrics, he wore only a simple navy uniform. And yet, Lysara noticed, when he walked into the hall, even the proudest Valari lifted their heads to watch. She told herself she didn't care. He was just another dignitary, another passing assignment. But she would soon learn how very wrong she was. Their first meeting was routine. She greeted him with a traditional Valari bow, recited her rehearsed lines, and guided the humans through the corridors of crystalline light. Elias listened with a polite nod, his dark eyes studying every detail. "You've memorized this," he said softly, halfway through her speech. Lysara stiffened. "Ah, yes. It is my role to present." He smiled faintly. "It's a good role. But I'd rather hear what you think of this place, not the script." No one had ever asked her opinion before. Valari rarely cared for her thoughts, only for her utility. But this human, this stranger, waited patiently for her to answer. Caught off guard, Lysara murmured, "The city is beautiful, but beauty can be cruel. Sometimes it hides the rot beneath the surface." For a heartbeat, she feared she had spoken out of turn. But Elias only tilted his head, studying her as though she had revealed something important. Over the next days, she escorted the humans through negotiations, cultural exhibitions, and endless ceremonies. Most Valari hosts treated the humans with thinly veiled superiority, yet Elias remained calm, even amused at the posturing. It was during a quiet evening in the council gardens that the moment happened. Lysara had guided Elias to a terrace overlooking the glowing rivers below. The air shimmered with bioluminescent insects, weaving trails of light across the night. "You don't enjoy these events, do you?" Elias asked suddenly. Lysara blinked. They are necessary. That wasn't an answer. His gaze was steady but not unkind. She hesitated. No Valari would ever have cared about her enjoyment. But for reasons she couldn't name, she whispered. No, I do not enjoy them. I am tolerated here, nothing more. My flaws prevent me from being anything greater. What flaws? Elias asked. Her breath caught. Slowly she turned to face him. The garden's lights reflected faintly in her pale gray eyes, those hated, lifeless eyes that had been the subject of so much mockery. These, she said bitterly. Valari are praised for brilliance, for vivid color, for radiance. Mine are nothing. Clouds. No one has ever praised them. Elias was silent for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then softly he said, "They're beautiful." The words struck her harder than a blade. She stared at him, uncomprehending. Beautiful. Had he spoken in jest? But there was no mockery in his tone, no false sympathy. "You're wrong," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I'm not," Elias said firmly. "They're not lifeless, they're stormlight. I've seen skies like that on Earth, just before the rain breaks. Gray that holds power, that promises change. They're honest, not painted, not fabricated, real." Lysara's lips parted, but no sound came. For the first time in her life, she was speechless. Her throat tightened, her chest ached, and something warm prickled behind her eyes. A human, of all beings a human, had given her the one thing no Valari ever had. Praise. Genuine, unguarded praise. After that night, she found herself thinking differently. She noticed the way Elias treated others, not with condescension, but with respect, even when speaking to species others dismissed. He spoke directly, truthfully, with none of the ornamental deceit Valari called politeness. She began to look forward to their conversations, where he asked about her life, her studies, her thoughts. And each time he listened, truly listened, the other Valari noticed. Whispers spread like wildfire. Why does the human seek her company? Surely he is mocking her. Does he not see her flaws? But Elias seemed immune to their scorn. If anything, he seemed amused by it. One evening, when a fellow Valari sneered, "Clouded eyes, you disgrace our delegation by clinging to that human," Elias calmly turned to the accuser and replied, "Funny. I see more clarity in her eyes than in your entire council." The hall had gone silent. Lysara had nearly collapsed from shock. In the days that followed, Elias's words emboldened her. For the first time, she raised her head among her peers, no longer shrinking. She spoke in council chambers with conviction, her voice steady. And slowly, grudgingly, even some Valari began to listen. But the true test came when the convocation faced crisis. Ending. A rival faction attempted sabotage, unleashing a swarm of nanite disruptors in the council chamber. Chaos erupted. Delegates screaming, guards faltering as the machines gnawed at energy barriers. Lysara acted without thinking. Drawing from her studies, she identified the swarm's control frequency and shouted instructions, rallying panicked technicians. But the swarm advanced too fast, flooding the chamber. Elias was at her side in an instant, blaster in hand. He shielded her as they pushed toward the central console. "Tell me what to do," he barked over the storm of sparks. Together they worked, the human brute force and the Valari mind. Her fingers flew over the controls, his hands steadying the collapsing power conduits. At last, with a final surge, she rerouted the council's defense grid and purged the disruptor's light.